Papa first learned.
Catface Laguna taught Camilla and Grono that the ancient Greeks figured out the right way to think about things, something called logic. And that, if they wanted to learn more about logic, they should visit Dr. DiVártolo, who was an expert on how to think about things properly. Dr. DiVártolo lived on the top floor of a French-styled triangular building. From the street, one could see the top of this 6-story building and count the illuminated bright windows of Dr. DiVártolo's triangular office. The lights were always the last to go out on any given night. Inside, old Dr. DiVártolo could always be found flipping through pages of his beloved scientific journals. Mendocinos were proud that such an intellectual with an international following was one of their own. Like the office of any true scholar, the room was filled with books, globes of the world, scientific instruments, and figurines. Dr. DiVártolo did not have an answer for everything, but he could be counted on to know what was known and what was unknown in the day's science. Camilla and Grono looked at each other and opened a heavy wooden door, 3 inches thick and decorated with reliefs of mortars, pestles, and the busts and statues of Greek and Roman medical doctors. Inside, the office resembled more the quarters of a diplomat than a doctor's office. The room had a red carpet resembling the kind belonging only to royalty. The white walls, white molding, white fluted columns, and white floorboards were meticulously clean and bright. Everything was royal red or shiny white. From the center of the room emanated a sharp white light from Dr. DiVártolo's desk lamp, one brought from Africa and having a shade made of dark green onyx. Behind the desk, Camilla and Grono could see the bald head of Dr. DiVártolo, who was gently flipping through a journal, as always. Like the office door, his desk was huge and decorated with elaborate reliefs and statues. On it was a leather box and beige papers stacked neatly into 4 piles. Camilla and Grono sat by the 2 large windows that they had seen so many times before, but only from the street side, never from inside. They were finally inside the famous office. The 2 guests could see that the reading glasses of Dr. DiVártolo had left a mark on the thick skin behind his ears. The old neurologist was completely bald except for one small square patch of hair above each ear. The patches were accompanied only by a large, rectangular mustache below a large nose. "Take seats," said Dr. DiVártolo, waving his free left hand to the 2 chairs before the desk. Camilla and Grono sat down on the French chairs that had been redone and refinished with Argentine leather. Dr. DiVártolo closed his journal and, for the first time, looked over his glasses at Camilla and Grono. "How may I help you 2?" he asked with a smile. Grono said, "Catface Laguna told us that the ancient Greeks figured out how to think properly, something called logic, and that you can teach us how to do it," said Grono. Is that what Mr. Laguna said?" asked the doctor. "Yes," said Camilla, "and that logic is part of something called philosophy." "All this is true," said Dr. DiVártolo. "Well, it is all very simple and clear, because nothing is more clear than something that is logical and thought of properly, as I always say." "As clear as glass?" asked Grono. "In some ways, yes," said the doctor. "Imagine if I said to you that each piece of paper in this office, whether in a book or by itself, like this single sheet of paper that I am holding in my hand, Imagine if I said that each of these papers came from a tree. Okay, said Camilla. And then I asked you, continued the doctor, what are the papers in this letterbox made from? Dr. DiVártolo pointed to the letterbox in front of him, which contained a stack of papers. Paper, answered Grono, because you stated that every single piece of paper in this office came from a tree. If that is the case, then that piece of paper, which is from your office, must have come from a tree. You are correct, said the doctor. And what if I said to you something a bit more complicated, such as, for every piece of paper in this office, if it has a number on it, that is, if it has a page number on it, then it must come from a book. Could I then say, this paper I am touching has a page number on it, so it must be from a book? Yes, said Camilla, because you stated the rule that if any piece of paper has a page number on it, then that piece of paper must be from a book. This is easy. Is all of this logic? It most certainly is, stated Dr. DiVártolo. The fancy term for this little trick is universal instantiation. If something is true about a certain kind of thing, then it must be true about each of those kinds of things. That is, if something is true about all strawberries, then that thing must be true about the next strawberry you eat. Universal instantiation, Camilla and Grono repeated, but with difficulty. Now, said the doctor, imagine if I told you that all rabbits are mammals, and that Doña Fina has a rabbit named Pinocchio. Is it safe to conclude that Pinocchio is a mammal? Yes, said Camilla, because your argument is that all rabbits are mammals, so Pinocchio is a rabbit. Therefore, Pinocchio must be a mammal. So all these arguments are correct, concluded Grono. But sometimes they are not, added the doctor. What if I said, all rabbits are mammals? My dog is a mammal. Therefore, my dog must be a rabbit. I see, said Camilla. That would be wrong. That would not be logical. There are mammals that are not rabbits, such as dogs, horses, and us. We humans are mammals, said Camilla. Correct, said Dr. DiVártolo. And if I said that all penguins swim, and then said that a fish can swim, that of course does not mean that the fish is a penguin. That would be silly. That would not be logical. But if I said that all penguins can swim, and that Benito is a penguin, then yes, you could conclude that Benito can swim. Right, said Grono, because the rule is that all penguins can swim. Camilla added, but not all things that swim are penguins. Oh, I hear the bell. That must be Catface Laguna, bringing us, some croissants. Hello, everyone. How nice to see everyone here on this lovely day. Are you all discussing logic? One of my favorite things, said Catface Laguna, holding a basket full of croissants. Yes, said Camilla and Grono. Could one of you test my logic? Could one of you test Catface Laguna's logic? I have pretty good logic, said Catface Laguna. Sure, said Grono. What if I told you that all lupis, which are a pretend undiscovered animal, have blue and yellow stripes, and that a tropical fish has blue and yellow stripes? Does the rule make that fish a loopy? Let me see if I have this. You said that all loopies, and loopies are a pretend undiscovered animal. You said they all have blue and yellow stripes. And you also said that there's a tropical fish that has blue and yellow stripes. Does that make that fish a loopy? Let me think. E. The answer is no, because you said that all loopies have blue and yellow stripes, but there could be other animals that also have blue and yellow stripes that are not loopies. Isn't this called the universal sanitation? Oh, I remember. Universal instantiation, I think. Is that right, doctor? The doctor nodded. Can you say it again? Asked Catface Laguna, smiling. It again, repeated Camilla and Grono, laughing. Dr. DiVártolo said, I see that they know all of your funny tricks. Catface Laguna said, say it again, which literally means to say the phrase, it again. Everyone laughed. Dr. DiVártolo, can we have one more example of logic? Asked Camilla. Sure, said Dr. DiVártolo. What if I told you that rabbits are mammals and that rabbits eat plants, which is called being a herbivore? What if I told you that rabbits are mammals and that rabbits eat plants? Could you conclude that rabbits are mammals and eat plants? Why, yes, said Camilla. Dr. DiVártolo continued, and if I said that my book is red and that my book is heavy? Grono quickly said, then that means your book is red and heavy. That is correct, said Dr. DiVártolo. You know, the ancient Greeks did a lot of logic and philosophy, and they also did a lot of math, which is very related to logic. Did you know that if you add 3 plus 2, you get the same answer as if you added 2 plus 3? Grono did the math with his fingers and noticed that it is true. 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2. Both equal 5. The people who do math, said Dr. DiVártolo, are called mathematicians. And they say that because of this, adding numbers is commutative, which means that you can switch around the order of the numbers and you will get the same answer. It is called commutative when you get the same answer or sum when you add things up, even when you switch the numbers around. But notice, said Dr. DiVártolo, that 3 minus 2 is not the same as 2 minus 3. That is, taking 2 away from 3 is not the same thing as taking 3 away from 2. Dr. DiVártolo grabbed the basket of croissants that Catface Laguna brought. Catface Laguna looked at the basket. The doctor continued, if you take 2 croissants away from this bunch of croissants, which are 5 in total, if you took 2 croissants away from the basket, you will have 3 left. Dr. DiVártolo illustrated this by taking 2 croissants from the basket. Catface Laguna watched carefully. I see, said Catface Laguna. As I always say, you learn something new every day. The doctor raised his finger and said, but if you take away 3 croissants from a basket having only 2, oh, then the outcome is different, said Catface Laguna. In that case, I will owe you a croissant because you ordered more croissants than I have in the basket. The outcome is different because you are ordering more croissants than I brought. But when you took 2 croissants from 5 croissants, there were some croissants left over. Correct, said Dr. DiVártolo. You see, while adding is commutative, removing things or subtracting them, when we say something like 5 minus 2, which means taking 2 away from 5, it is not commutative. Camila started thinking aloud. 6 minus 4 is not the same as 4 minus 6. Because for 6 minus 4, you would have some croissants left over. You would have 2 left over, said Grono. Speaking of which, said Dr. DiVártolo, I have here 1 croissant for each of you. Camilla, Grono, Dr. DiVártolo, and Catface Laguna were now all eating croissants and thinking about how much fun it is to learn about logic and math.